So today we are talking about the completely devastating news and change in the world that's happened in the last few days in the Middle East. Most specifically, we're talking about Dubai, but in general, we're going to talk about careers in the Middle East because it's a situation that's emerging, and we don't exactly know what it means. I'll just recap briefly, like what we know right now, which is Tuesday, 3rd of March at 12 o'clock UK time. So no explosions overnight in Dubai. Uh, many people killed in Iran. Some US service people also killed. There's some indications from the US that there's still a lot more to come. Iran has says that they will not negotiate as well. And yeah, I don't want to spend forever just going through all the sad the sad news about people being killed. So obviously it's a bit devastating. The goal of the podcast today, we're going to be talking about what this means for careers, right? Because a lot of people, including a lot of our consultants, are actually in the Middle East now, and it's not just people are there, but they've made a decision to base their career in the Middle East. There's a lot of reasons for that. The Middle East and Dubai, and specifically Dubai, but the Middle East in general offers a chance to earn a lot more. It offers a chance to do things on new, exciting projects, and it offers a different career path for those who want that option. But this has changed it. And so I think it's important to kind of explore what this could mean. So let's start with the basics. So as of now, it's 3-4 days in. There's essentially a war going on across the region, and for the first time ever, Dubai has been hit. So this means that for the first time in my lifetime, Dubai is no longer a perfectly safe place. And actually, they were, the government has been telling people work from home and stay away from windows. This is a big change, and I think this could change the perspective of Dubai forever. But I also think that, like everything in life, things recover, right? So things change. Just a couple of key points. So the port has at some point been on fire. A number of different key places like the Fairmont Hotel, Burj Al Arab were on fire. Dubai Airport has been damaged. The airport, I believe, is suspended indefinitely. Everyone's been told to work from home, and the stock market has been shut down yesterday and today. And so, as it stands, we are in that moment a little bit like, do you remember with COVID, the first week or two, or 3 or 4, whenever it was, it was complete chaos, and nobody knew really what to think. Nobody knew, is this going to be devastating, or is it going to be like a month and then everything goes back to normal? The reality is, we have a big network of people. Everyone is saying the same thing. This has changed the Middle East kind of forever, in a sense, because now the UAE is no longer seen as a safe place. I just look as well. So yeah, the airport totally shut down. But let's talk, let's not go too long on what's happening. Let's talk a bit more about what this means for your job. So on statistics, maybe Aliya, you could run us through statistics on Dubai, because most people there are indeed expats. So actually, the majority of people in Dubai and in general in UAE are not from the area. So essentially, this region lives and dies on expats coming to build and create kind of the future of the country. So now, what does that mean for all the people there? Do you want to explore this a little bit? You're someone who's moved around the world a number of times. You've moved from one safe place to another safe place. How are you seeing this? Because you were also considering at some point the Middle East as an option, for your career. So how are you seeing this, and what are your thoughts on how do you sort of emotionally take this all in?
Yeah, that's actually a good question. Well, statistically, in Dubai, most of the people who lives there, they're like I think 92% of people are expats. So, and Dubai been working for a long time, like to attract all these expats, new people, new investments, and so to show themselves that they're very good country to be in and work and like progress, innovate, and a lot of like money to go into all this developments, I would say. And yes, it's been working, and people being buying properties there, moving there with families, finding new jobs there. And right now I think with this situation, everyone is questioning what they should do next and how is it affecting them, like financially, let's say, like in a career wise, as we talk about. And for me personally, it's I think it's a very uh, complicated, let's say, thoughts, because when you move somewhere and you plan, you think like how it will go, and like you kind of trying to organize your whole life, especially if you have family who's moving with you, and you need to understand like what kind of prediction is going to be happening. And for Dubai, usually people would think it's a safe country and like nothing could be ever happen. And especially in a situation like right now, and people just freely wanted to go, and like it's like a little bit of a new dream country, to move to explore, to earn money, to develop their careers. And right now, I would say I would very be worried about what to do next, in my career, like because like a lot of people being asked to work from home, like everything is closed, most of the stuff are closed, like stock exchange, ports, and situation is not um, the best in the economical side, I would say. And I will start thinking like, what should I do next? Like maybe I should move, maybe I should stay. What's going to be next? And like from the predictions, we still don't know how it will end it up and like how long it will be going. And I will start thinking about my next steps and my thoughts, like what I should do I need to do next.
Yeah, well, I think probably what I would add to that is that Dubai has recovered before. I mean, to some extent, at some point there was nothing there, right? But it has recovered from shocks before, but they've always been economic shocks. This is the first time that this is not an economic shock; it's a geopolitical shock. And I think the reality is that because Dubai is built on confidence, the confidence as of today and the last few days has taken a big hit, not gone completely. I mean, investments are made over normally 5, 10, 15, 20 years, and a lot of things will stay. And I'm sure if it all stops, things to some extent will return to normal. The thing is that when people lose confidence, it takes a long time for it to come back. So if you look at some of the interesting stats here, so the port, their main port, Jebel Ali Port, it actually is responsible for 36% of their GDP. So nearly one third of the country is only that port alone, and it's got major problems, right? Like its operations suspended, 77 million barrels of oil sitting on tankers stuck in the Gulf, the highest in 6 years. Oil has obviously prices have started to go up, and that's a huge worry for a lot of industries and around the world. And obviously one of the main reasons for basing operations in Dubai is the stability of the region. And now that's under question for the first time ever. But more importantly than just the port, tourism and aviation in the Middle East and in Dubai is a growing and clear goal for the region, right? So not just for Dubai, but also Saudi, Qatar. These are places that typically were not popular tourist destinations that now have become quite popular. So I think as a general kind of perspective, a lot of decisions in terms of where people invest, or maybe where hotels invest, or where I don't know resorts or and so on, will be making a decision. We probably will not go forward as we planned to do before, but now. Uh, and now people will be kind of wondering whether or not there are other places to invest. So what that means, and it actually comes back to a quite key point, Dubai lives on two different foundations. One is the kind of fundamentals in terms of operations and industry and everything else, and the logistics of delivering products and so on. And the other is like the confidence side of Dubai, which is the tourism and the property investment and everything else. And overnight, everything has taken a big hit. And so with the oil price going up and the uncertainty, and also I think because the next 2 or 3 years as well, Trump is still be in power. So the reality is, without that change in leadership, it's unlikely, I think, that the confidence will come back, even if the situation resolves. So let's talk a bit about career, because I think if you're working in Dubai right now, you're probably working one of two ways. One, you're part of this confidence and hype in terms of it's a destination, you can build, you can invest here, you can build a life here, you can build your family here, and so on and so forth. And one is the more kind of operational delivery of core services. So do you want to walk through those two? Because obviously the core stuff is a lot safer and more stable. Things don't change overnight. You know, the port at the moment is under pressure and not operating properly. But once things calm down, it will. The same way the world has to continue turning around. But probably the confidence part of Dubai could take a big hit, right? So those working in that industry are more likely to see an impact on their careers. Walk us through, what are your thoughts on those two areas?
Yeah, so like for people who's working there and already are in Dubai, obviously, like it's like they should not panic and try to to think and understand that, I mean, Dubai is still going to try to preserve all the casualties, I would say, but in the same time, since it's not clear and for like the future and what's going to be happening and like how US is going to act, so they still need to be the people who's there, like they still need to think about, like plan B, plan C, like what they can do next. Maybe they can request to work from home, like or remotely, and maybe if it will be when the airspace will be open, like they can maybe leave the country for now on and like work remotely or something like that. If they can talk with their HR departments maybe and like to figure out if there is any possibilities for them, like to have like a I don't know, like say safety net, and if the company will provide something for them, like I don't know, financially or like giving a break or gap or something. And yeah, and obviously they also need to think like if they work, for example, in a big companies worldwide, maybe they can for now move somewhere close to the region where it's more safer and work from the offices from there. So that's also one thing they can consider and talk with the company. And but
So probably that, I mean, I would say that the first thing to do if you're in Dubai or any region affected by this um, situation is to go to your company and ask, what's the immediate plan? Like literally today, tomorrow, what's happening? You know, I mean, everyone's been told to work from home, obviously, but what about Wednesday, Thursday, Friday? If the airport is suspended, and is there any plan in terms of if this doesn't change for the next week, or gets worse? What's the plan? If they don't have an answer, then people probably need to start thinking themselves, like to what extent they want to be exposed to risk, literal risk, but also like career risk, right? Because if this situation doesn't resolve, and it wouldn't be the first situation to last much longer than maybe initially planned, as soon as actions get taken and then things persist maybe for years and years. And actually, we're still feeling, to be honest, the effects of the actions from 2001, the early 2000s. So, first thing I would say, ask them, is there any plan? And then I think the second question is, if you don't feel safe, and or you've decided that this means the region is not for you, you have the option first of all to ask about relocation within your company, and or second to think about different areas. So for a long time, obviously, the shift has been Europe to Dubai or Europe to Middle East, and we've supported many people, including our consultants, to do that. Now there is a question now about whether the stability of Europe now becomes more attractive. So I would say that for people who are not sure what this means for them, in this moment when nobody's sure, like right now nobody knows what it means. This is the moment to take action in terms of getting your CV and LinkedIn and everything ready, and assume that you've been in this situation for 2 or 3 months. So imagine that every day for the next 2 or 3 months is the same. Imagine how you'd feel. Imagine what you'd potentially want to do to get out of that situation, if indeed you want to get out, and think about what you need to do now. And so I think in this moment of indecisiveness, nobody knows what to do right now. It's just started. Now is the time to say, if it would continue, I would take these actions right now. I would look at the UK market, I would look at the European market, the US market, Singapore, wherever it is, the industries where my industries operate. And I will get ready to explore opportunities in those areas so that I'm not stuck later on. Because everyone freezes and does nothing for the first few weeks. Everyone thinks it will stay the same. I mean, it will just finish, or it's not going to be that long. And everyone freezes, and nothing happens. So everyone doesn't take the action they need to do, and then later on, everyone needs to move. Now, that's not easy to move country, but the thing is that as of today, the shock is there is the initial shock. If you look at all stock markets and all commodities and all just markets in general, when things happen, there's an initial shock, then there's a little bit of a rebound, and then there's the slide, right? We see this often when people initially think a commodity is going to crash, then it recovers a bit, and then it absolutely crashes, right? Because human beings are quite simple. We initially think something, we panic, then we calm down, and then we really panic, and then we make the move. So it's not the time to panic, but it's the time to have everything ready and assume that this will not stop anytime soon. Okay, so then what are you going to do? Do you have financial position to move quickly if it gets really much worse, physically much worse? Do you have contingency in terms of role? Okay, how are you talking to other recruiters? Have you reached out to your network? Are you building your network? Have you thought about your LinkedIn, or have you been in Dubai for 7 years and you never occurred to you before? I think, I think there's a range of roles that this will have different impacts on. People who are in shorter term roles, particularly people there on a contract, may feel like they just want to stop the contract and come back immediately. People who've relocated with their families to the Middle East, this is a really big thing to think about. I'm just seeing that they say that Dubai has no public shelters, the airport is closed, very difficult place to move out of. It's not like Europe; you can just go from Germany to Netherlands very easily. So it is difficult. If things are, if the option is open to you, talk to your embassy as well. If you've got an offer to go to Dubai, or you're in advanced discussions with a company in Dubai right now, don't stop everything, but ask them directly the question: if this continues, what will this mean for the role? Because every company in the whole region right now is going through contingency planning. And so if people themselves are not going through contingency planning, then you will be left behind when everyone else has already made a decision. And this is often the case. Shall we talk about what are the options then for, there will be a lot of people who are thinking about moving to Dubai the last month or two, or maybe they started 2026 thinking this is my dream. What do you think? How do you think they should now approach this topic, and what other regions should they consider? How would you approach this? Like literally today, 3rd of March, how should people now approach? Maybe this is now no longer an option, or maybe this is now there's alarm bells in people's heads. So what do you think is there like the next week or two? What should they be doing practically to explore other markets and see like what they can achieve in other markets?
Yes, definitely. If you're been just considering and still, well, it depends. So if there's a few options, like for example, if you've been considering and you're already having interviews and like offers are coming, I would say maybe not to cancel them and still work on them, and maybe try to negotiate like a different type of contract, or maybe remote work as we already spoke, or a relocation to a different office until everything will settle down and maybe they can move to the office back to Dubai, for example. But if you this is for those who are kind of at the end of the road to moving to the Dubai. But if they're still didn't let's say invested too much time on interviews, negotiation their offers, and like not stepping at the door of leaving their own country or wherever they're located, I would say they need to to think and to analyze what there will be their next step of a different relocation option. Like, I mean, like they need to assess their CV. They need to see like maybe there's options for them to to move to different country. If they speak different languages, it's also can be helpful, and consider this as a add-on to their profile, and maybe consider something else. So I mean, there is still options. Like Europe is pretty good option to move. I mean, obviously depends from your personal priorities as well. Like, I mean, there's some people don't like UK, there's some people don't like Germany, but like if for now you really being invested and dedicated to the time to move and like, you know, search for your new career, I would say just do your analysis as you've done for Dubai, and like find your options, and you can try to move them with them.
Yeah, exactly. So I think what I want to just cover a little bit is I think people should act now because it could not, this might not be over quickly. And I want to explain why a little bit because as with every situation like this, nobody knows, but you can interpret the signs based on what the people involved in this are saying. So Trump, uh, depending on how much you can trust anything he says, warns the conflict could last up to 4 weeks and doesn't rule out people on the ground. I would say that means they're probably already planning it, maybe in a way that people don't expect. And the general messages from the US government is there's a lot more to come. So that means that Iran will retaliate, and that means that Dubai potentially will get hit more as well. And obviously, the wider region is now, you know, like Lebanon and other countries are now getting involved as well, or attacked, or you know, it's hard to keep up with all of the specifics of everything that's going on. But the whole region is under crisis. It has always been like that, but I think the UAE and particularly Dubai were always insulated from that side of things. And so now the risk premium of operating in the area just went up by like 100%, right? So overnight, the cost of doing business in the region has just doubled because now you need to price in the risk. So yes, in a month it all may stop. Now for many years, and we have to be honest, that probably it's probably 5 to 10 years away from going back to where we are now if things relatively quickly stop. If things continue, and my opinion is that the reality of the logistical complexity of doing all of this and the reality of life, the reality of change of regime, the reality of uprisings, these are multi-year things. They don't get fixed overnight in a week or two. Even if the whole country wants something, it took when the UK agreed on Brexit, it took 5 years to implement Brexit. So and and this is a situation without any structure and order. So the reality is, no matter how quickly the conflict ends, there's likely to be some follow-on of conflict in some other way, and it's unlikely that everything will go back to the way it was. No matter what happened, the where we were 3 or 4 days ago, it's unlikely we'll get back to that. Many older people, maybe who have some experience in the 70s and 80s, might remember that this is how it always was to an extent in the region. And then with time, everything has calmed down. But now we've gone a little bit back towards the 70s and 80s. The country still continue, operations still continue, oil extraction is still in place, but it's priced into doing business in the region, right? There's a risk premium attached. So I think more than ever, we have always at EP, we have always had the principle that you should be ready to move anytime. You should always be ready, right? Maybe your boss is crazy, or maybe your manager does something that drives you crazy, whatever it is. You should be ready to move role at any time. That doesn't mean you should be actively applying and looking, but you should be kind of ready for it. And I think all that's happened with this is that the internal factors about whether you love the role or maybe you don't like the city or anything else have now another factor has been added, which is safety of the region. And that has always been there, but I think we've had a very stable world from that point of view in many key areas for a long time, and now that's changed. So Singapore has always been a safe place. It could also change, but right now it's definitely like for commodities-based people would be definitely something to think about. If somebody works in commodities, in the Middle East and they're thinking about Singapore, now is the time to do it. 2 day, 24 hours after it's all starting to kick off, explore your contacts in Singapore, see what people are saying and looking for. The fastest people, the best people make decisions in 1-2 days. Decisions are made very quickly and they act on them and they find themselves in a different place. Most people get stuck and panic and freeze and think and don't act until it's too late. And then they complain that it's very stressful and it's very difficult to move. It will be. If this continues, it will be difficult to move because you suddenly have, instead of like the natural 2, 3, 4, maybe even 10% of people who change jobs every year, suddenly 50% or 70% want to move. And that flood of people can't go, there's nowhere to go. So then there's a very intense competition. So, a lot of people will have moved because of the safety of the region. And there's probably a psychological shock around, I can't believe that this is now here. And it's very important for people to jump on top of that emotion with action right now. If you feel, for whatever reason, maybe you literally feel in danger, or maybe you don't see a future anymore that you saw 3 days ago, and to take action on it. So I think our key advice now is to get started. Look at your CV, look at your LinkedIn, think about the other markets that have strong hubs for the industry you're in, finance, commodities, whatever it is, and make a real assessment of your skills. So think about, what's part of Dubai or Middle East in general? What am I involved with? Am I involved with hotel setup and building hotels, brands and everything else out here? Maybe really think about the future, because that side of the industry is going to take a big hit. It will never die. It will never disappear. Even with COVID, somehow hotels continue to exist. So things always continue. But the question is there growth and is there an opportunity for you to grow your career? For those who, I think there will be some people as well who have had, who've seen some growth in their career in one area and maybe we're thinking about switching. Well, now's a good time to think about switching as well. So look at your transferable skills. Look at the skills you can do in terms of delivering projects or dealing with difficult people, or maybe the software you use is used across different industries. So start thinking in those directions. But the most important thing I think is to take action. And I would say as well that all the basic stuff you think about, like in terms of contacting the embassy, keeping your family members up to date and everything else, is also critical. If you're wondering if you should do it, you definitely should. And don't assume things can't get worse as well, I would say. Things can always get worse, and much worse very quickly, which is why I think you need to think now. The first mover advantage is extremely important. And there's a lot more complexity to this topic. So like, people are no longer going to look at this as a destination. The influencer market now has nowhere as like a destination. They'll need a new destination. To some extent, this could reset a lot of activity in terms of ambition for younger people and where people end up staying in different regions, and things could reset a bit, because there was this kind of idea for the last few years, and all of the young people I know have talked about Dubai for the last 10 years, to be honest with you. It's been this destination everyone wants to go to, and it's an aspirational goal for a lot of young people. Well, now that's going to be taken away. We also need to see how governments in the West react. Could it be that if people are all coming back, which could definitely be the case, we've now got more people than we have now? Is there a reaction to that? Is there now more of a focus to, now unemployment could go up. If everyone from the UK and Dubai comes back to the UK, unemployment will go up if they don't have a role to come back to. So we need to see also how the markets react. But for professionals, I think now is the time to act. And not to be scared, but to be very in control about, these are the risks, this is what could happen. There is a physical risk, people are dying. In some areas, it's very low chance. In some areas, there's a lot of bombs and rockets and things are crazy. So everyone needs to make a personal decision around what they need to do now, right? And as much as possible, especially that my dad also escaped from a war in the Middle East in the 70s and 80s, from personal experience, not taking action is the worst thing you can do, right? It might not be the case that you're really at any risk of physical injury, but it's important to take a decision now before things get much worse. Take the decision now before the roads are closed or before the port is completely destroyed, or So I really advise people to be on their highest alert if you are in the region. And of course, I think we both wish everyone. We have no real opinion about anything except that we want everyone to be safe, right? We don't want anyone to be injured or hurt. So all we're advising everyone in whatever situation is um, to be careful, to be safe, and to try and get to a position where they're stable and happy. Uh, that's it, I think, for today. We just wanted to kind of give our views, and I think we might do another one if things change again, and maybe with a bit more specifics around things that people, numbers people can call and everything else. If you are affected by this and you need some guidance or advice, keep an eye on our Instagram and see like what we're putting there. To what extent we can advise, we will, and give guidance. And if you're thinking about your career and you're thinking about getting your profile and CV and professional story in shape, go to our website, see what we have there. We've got tons of articles, tons of videos, tons of guidance around making sure you're looking the best from your career point of view. And you can also talk to our consultants as well in different regions, different markets, UK, Europe, US, people pretty much all around the world, if you want a bit more guidance. Obviously, it's an emerging situation, so we'll keep on top of it. But yeah, a bit of a shock for all of us, I would say, Aliya. Is there anything else on this complicated topic you want to add, or we can end it there and we'll pick it up at some point soon?
No, I think we covered everything, and yeah, I just want to say to everyone to stay safe, stay positive, and just hopefully everything will settle down soon.